Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Have the Race Gone for round 4 of the TSR Super Formula Series. It's from Kyoto, Yamagiwa. Much awaited after we had our little server incident or server problem, server issues last week. And we're forced to postpone the race. But tonight it is happening. The drivers have had an extra week's time to practice. So we'd be expecting fireworks tonight. It's Driving Park Kyoto. Evening to Bambi SimRacing. Evening to our trusted moderator that is off Apple of Nookshot Motorsports fame. Nilseman is here as well, alongside GT Welsh of TSR fame, one of the series organizers. It is a pleasure having you folks along tonight. We're watching TSR Martin go around. Here is CJ, he seems to be on pause. Clockwork Motorsports is of course represented by Storm Pacer. He's put in the 4th fastest time in practice so far. And there's of course TSR represented by both Martin, Jimmy and Kurt Welsh, of course, as well, and then Stick behind the wheel of the safety car. And Nusha trusted. Yes, we've decided in we've decided that we trust you. We're trusted enough to delete Matt sentences out of chat when needed to. Here's Dr. Hash. Dr. Hash, who's getting close to a team signing as well. I'm not sure that I can actually reveal too much about it, but I do know that there is things on the line. That was my very first mistake. I don't think it was my first mistake ever. It might be the last mistake I ever made. There's Jimmy parked along the left-hand hairpin. And who's that going around alongside him? Evening to Hippie Head as well. And with that said, qualifying session is underway, and we are of course running a bit of a special format here with 5 flying laps plus the warm-up lap the drivers are getting their way onto right about now. So of course a little bit more than what we've seen in the TSR GT 300, where it was indeed a one-shot qualifying format. Evening to Martin in chat as well. Maverick of the Volex esports team is here watching. It's a pleasure to have you along with. The same goes to AJ, also a known face, a familiar face from TSR series of old. So let's just get that timing on for the drivers. Here it is. Oh, that's sick. That's sick, Pat. Stop doing that, you DS4, ladies and gentlemen. But it's expensive. It's money I don't have. Every time I try to touch mine, it goes into freak mode. Yeah. Imagine trying to play games with that DS4. Well, Maverick, the donate button will super chat arrives. I think it's 1,000 subs, so there's a bit of ways to go still. But yeah, who cares? If anyone so really feel like donating, we actually do have a Patreon page. There's a link at the bottom of the description. But as I said, if you really feel like it, if there's one thing we don't want to come across as, it's beggars. But we've had requests for opening up ways to support us in our ways and in turn, exactly with just that gear, when something breaks, when you need something repaired, when also just maybe to stay updated with the latest games out, so on. But yeah. Us Danes, we have a thing called Janteloven, which is a thing that you couldn't really translate into English. It's a law about that you shouldn't ever really think that you are anything special. It's really quite destructive in the end. And most Danes that do well tend to break free of Janteloven quite well. Anyways, we have Welsh. He'll be the first one to complete a lap, but I don't think it'll be an absolutely blitz-paced lap, and I can tell you by now it most certainly isn't. Then it's Aura.io here of the Clean Racing Network, the CRN boys. He's across the line, 1:13.7. And here comes T5 Black. He's way down the pace. At the moment, Storm Pacer goes second fastest. 3/10 down here through on his first lap. CJ also slots in, and he must be close to the top there. I think Jimmy's had some kind of problem. He's coming in early on. Yeah, he's picked up some damage there. That's certainly not what he wanted. That's 2 laps wasted because he's going to need another outlap for this one. Oh, poor luck for TSR Jimmy. And nice to see the rooting going on in chat. I love to see rooting in chat. That's oh yeah, that really I just love to see that. It's great. If you have a favorite out there in chat, root for your favorite. Please root all you want. And hello, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to the stick as well, TSR stick. And same to Julian Eichenlaub as well, who's rooting for Aura. As mentioned, here we have, of course, Will Friedman in the race as well. As we're watching Jimmy, he's made his way out. Of course, he will be last to complete. Let's watch along as Will Friedman, who's somewhat of a newcomer to the series, had his first race last time around. And we know that the Frenchman certainly is a fast man, although not on a purple time for the time being. Seems to keep it very composed. However, CJ has posted in a new faster time, and just as I say that, he's bettered by Joe of the Fire, and it's only by a tenth of a second, more or less. So the witty professor putting himself in a very good position. And yes, Stick, I would love the honors of race start time when they line up on the grid. Consider it my duty. So here we have JC, of course, in the old school Olympus. Olympus. I wanted to say Lotus, but then at the same time I read Olympus, and it came out as Olympus. Olympus. But it's a very nice livery indeed. And here is JC. Might he better what he's put in so far? I don't think he will. He actually won't. So let's just get to watch who is on what and where. Joe of the Fire, of course, leading. No, here is GT Welsh, the TSR driver, now putting in a provisional pole time on his last lap. Joe of the Fire, that is a massive gap indeed. Good job there on Welsh with a 1:13.3. Look at how close it is between CJ and Aura, just 9 thousandths of a second separating the two. And in turn, just 15 thousandths of a second from Aura down to Martin, who's sitting 5th at the moment. As Martin, he's been off, he's picked up some damage, and that's gonna be the last of his qualifying session. He's not gonna get the chance to better that 1:13.7. very bouncy ride here on the grass. As well, CJ, he is improved as well, and he's on his last lap by now. Let's see if he can make that last one count. Just a 10th down on Welsh, and he is a little bit up through Sector 2 here. As he's making his way up the hill through the sweeper and down towards the hairpin. Hard braking, and then you have to be patient on throttle. Not to get too early, to get the right sort of drive here. Down towards the second chicane, down the hill here. Very difficult corner, especially the second part of it. So easy to overshoot it and go wide and hit that wall, or just go wide onto the grass and make a spin. Oh, and as I say, make a spin. CJ almost does that, gets a big slide on, and I'm afraid that might compromise his pole lap. Let's see, it certainly will. Because he is not gonna better GT Welsh. Let's see Joe of the Fire. He is on his final lap now. He might still take pole position here. It's very close at the top of affairs. Joe of the Fire through the final right-hander. It's a much smoother exit than CJ. It's a 1:13.3 he's looking for, and he's not gonna better that. He's far from it. He's 0.4 of a second down. It's gonna be third place for Joe of the Fire. Welsh on pole so far. Aura is not gonna be bettering it. Neither is Martin. Here is TSR Kurt. Kurt 24. He's not gonna be improving upon his 6th place finish. Storm Pacer is going to be 7th. In 8th, it's going to be Sam Digby, who picked up some damage there. Nice Jag livery. It's Digby and the Jag. Martin with a comment, this should be interesting. I agree. I certainly agree. Anyway, Jimmy in 9th on the grid. It's T5, the Swedish survivor, who might be called on to work. So if he leaves the race, we do have an explanation as to why. But he's 10th on the grid with JC 11th. Will Friedman in 12th position on the grid. Dr. Hash in 13th. And Pinkery, the Volex driver, also having picked up some damage late in his run there in 14th position. Some very certainly close qualifying session, and GT Welsh with his first pole position of this series, of the season, and he's found himself with the pace to be up there, but without the luck really on former occasions. Martin from 5th place on the grid. It'll be interesting to see how the race pace is. One thing I haven't really mentioned upon yet is, of course, tire choices, and we should check out what the different drivers will be starting upon. Available choices, available compounds for this race will be softs and mediums, and we'll be running tire wear times 3. It is so that we are differentiating the wear settings a little bit to kind of simulate different kinds of track temperature conditions in the end, and to simulate that tire wear is indeed quite different from track to track, also from day to day. So we've got, as expected, the top runners all on the soft compounds, all the way down there. Digby also. Digby, the first of the medium qualifiers, he is in 8th position. That's a pretty good job. Jimmy and T5, that's also mediums. Seeing JC on the softs in 11th. And then, of course, the rest of them are on the mediums indeed. Storm Pacer, gotta love the liveries. I have to agree, the livery game in these TSR series is so strong. And you can really see that people spend a lot of time on those liveries. They do look very nice indeed. CJ's livery here is definitely a good one, and definitely very fitting. And there's a detail to it that we can't see, but the red part of it makes out the face from the Olympiacos FC logo, and that's a very cool detail to that livery. I really like. Joe of the Fires, Have the Race Gone Nuke Shot car, made by Off Apple. Or on that CRN car, look at that. It reminds of the Footworks, the Arrows Footworks car from the 1990s a little bit. I think that's a great one. And good evening to Max Kempenaar and to GTR as well. A pleasure to have you along. And CJ, you nuns. And speaking of liveries, look at this one. I just have to say, TSR Martins Cam Hatch Reva Racing Nuke Shot back car, but it's looking absolutely wondrous. Kurt's livery is nice as well with the Advent sponsorship. And the detailing on the Clockwork Motorsports cars, indeed, also a Storm, you're here in chat reading as well, or listening. I mean, that's some good stuff as well. Just as I say, Bambi agrees, that's nice to hear. We are getting close to race start, ladies and gentlemen. Do not despair. And of course, we are running a little bit of a special starting format as well, you could say, because we'll be doing 2 formation laps. And that is because we are starting the first one on very low fuel. Then we'll be pitting in at the end of that lap to fuel up to the desired amount. And from there on, excuse me, hashtag real burp. From there on, we'll get the drivers on track to reformatize themselves, and of course it opens up that everyone won't just be on a full load of fuel from race start, so we really can see some differences in race strategies from the different drivers. And that's something we've really enjoyed for this series so far. It's really made for interesting racing, and it's made for also really changing out the racing so that you can have some cars doing better early in the race with less fuel from the start, and then other cars picking up the speed or the pace later on in the race. It is really, I think personally, it's a very great format, and it's definitely worth that little bit of extra weight. And of course, I am having the honors today of starting the race, in the sense that I'll be deciding at what time the cars get to go from the grid. When they're parked up there, we'll be using the race timer at the bottom left of your screen. But that is, of course, not until a minute or two, when we've had everybody give the ready sign and the race has been ordered underway. We aren't far away from it at all, I think. In fact, I think we're getting very close to it indeed now. Certainly something that I have really been looking forward to. And I think it will be an interesting race here from Yamagiwa. There are a couple of overtaking sections. The only problem is that with the swoopy nature, you could call it, of the track, it does make it difficult to get a run with these high downforce cars that seem to suffer from dirty air when running close to a car in front. Joe is indeed back. Should be ready indeed to get going. And there it is. the start signal has been given. In a moment, we will be shown the grid order yet again. Of course, TSR GT Welsh on pole position in front of the Mad Greek, as always, in the number 25 car. Honda on pole position in front of 2 times Toyota. Then it's Aura IO behind Joe of the Fire there in row 2. TSR Martin 5th with the TSR teammate Kurt 24 in 6th position with Storm Pacer 7th and Sam Digby in 8th. And with that said, the drivers are off for the first of the 2 warm-up laps. So you were expecting easy works here on this one. And through comes the safety car of TSR Stick. And a little side note upon that safety car is that we're having some new graphics on display, made courtesy of TSR Martin. And those new graphics are upon this safety car. And I have to say, oh, it looks good. I haven't really seen it. I've seen them for themselves. I haven't seen them put on a car yet. And I have to say, it looks really good. Yeah. I have to say, I think it looks nice. What do you think, chat? How is the new HTRG graphics working out? And of course, a big thank you from us to Martin for taking the time to patching together some graph works for us. Traus is okay handy with such. I am anything but handy with graphic works, so at some point I'm gonna show you what I came up with by trying to make a banner for the YouTube channel early on. It wasn't really a joke, but it looked like a joke, and yeah, I'll show it to you someday in the Discord. Anyway, the track Yamagiwa. Well, it's not. I was about to say it's the shorter of the Kyoto layouts. It's not, of course, the shorter of the Kyoto layouts, because Miyabi is, of course, the shorter of the Kyoto layouts. But it is actually, for the lone standing tracks of Kyoto here, it's the longest one indeed, and we'll have cars pitting in here. We'll have Stick waiting on the other side of things for the second lap. After we see here, cars pitting in. Digby first of the medium qualifiers, and that's interesting because, of course, Sam Digby will be starting from 8th position on the medium tires. And he could be on with an advantage. We'll have to see for how long the drivers can keep the softs alive. And this is, in turn, a track that really stresses the tires big time. With those fast left-hand sweepers. 2 of them in turn. Jimmy saying your body is not ready. Well, that doesn't sound too good. I hope you're not hurting. And reports of CJ lagging. Well, that's not good. Let's hope it's he's not lagging for us at least, so we get to see what CJ puts in, and then he'll just have some defensive aids. We could call them not defensive aids, but he'll have an aid defensively in his car, warping back and forth, and everybody being scared of it, I guess. Second place on the grid, of course, with Joe of the Fire, our championship leader. Of course, that's another thing we haven't touched upon yet, is, of course, the standings for this season. At the moment, it is Joe of the Fire leading with TSR Martin in 2nd position. And then CJ 3rd, but CJ, the points standings as I'm speaking here, I'll do my best to look him up real quickly. And there it is. It's Joe of the Fire after 3 races with 66 points. Martin 5 points behind on 61, and then a 21 3-point gap down to CJ in 3rd position. He's got 45, and in turn 19 more points down to Wake CU, who's sitting 4th at the moment with 26 points. And then it's quite a bit closer in behind here. TSR stick, the safety car pulls off, the grid lines up, and we will have to see when all the cars are parked, because it'll be our time to shine and to tell the cars when go time will be. Basically, we'll be having a look here with the final car to park up on the grid. It is Felix Pinkery, the Volex esports driver. Oh, I think Dr. Hash, he put it on the wrong side of the road. It will be at, we'll be saying 6 minutes here. So 35 seconds for the tires to get cold down towards turn 1. And it is TSR GT Welsh on pole position in front of CJ, Joe of the Fire, Aura, TSR Martin, Kurt 24, Storm Pacer, and Sam Digby. And the bottom half of the grid with Jimmy, T5 Black, JC, Will Friedman, Dr. Hash, and Felix Pinkery. And with that, it is very close to go time now. 5, 4 seconds, 3. We really hear the engines revving now, and it's go, go, go. The round 4 is underway from Kyoto. Yamagiwa, lots of wheel spin from GT Wells, who really gets swamped there. It's CJ on the inside. It's Joe on the fire. Joe of the Fire on the outside. It's Aura also making his way through. And side by side now, here the 2 championship contenders, 2 of them at least. I think Joe of the Fire takes the lead there. A little bit of a tap between the 2. And it is Joe of the Fire taking the lead in front of CJ. Martin holding on to 5th position. Welsh getting the better of Aura, but they're side by side here as they come down towards the first of the 2 chicanes. Very high speed in these cars. Now you see Martin up the inside of Aura up for 4th position there in behind, as CJ takes a big dipper there through the grass, and Martin, I think, has a little bit of contact with the rear end of GT Welsh. Certainly a lot of action going down at the moment here. So let's see. Still Martin. Ooh, who's that going off to the side? Oh, there's a huge carnage here, though. 2 drivers going off. Let's have a replay of that, because we... Oh. So it didn't... so it didn't exactly register. I think I pressed the wrong button. But someone's dipping into the pits. And that's CJ. So CJ must have picked up damage. And Martin as well. Oh, and that's going to play it right into the hands of Joe of the Fire, who's leading the race at the moment. And there, Kurt 24 has gotten a brilliant start. And he's up into 3rd position. And just as we join him and get in on saying that he's gotten a good start, he gets it a little bit wrong. He's under pressure from Aura IO. It's Jimmy up in 5th position with T5 in 6th. Sam Digby 7th. He is on the medium tires, of course, mind you. Storm Pacer 8th. Dr. Hash up into 9th position. JC 10th. It's Pinkery 11th. It's, ooh, there's a lot of chaos here. What just happened? So, I have some kind of issue with my replays here, because it occurs to me that I actually did hit the correct marker, and just to test out finally that it isn't going to show me any replays. So no replays for today, and I do think I have an idea why, but that's how it is. Joe of the Fire brilliantly off here. He's leading by 3.3 seconds now, down to Welsh in 2nd position. And then it's TSR blocking it up. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at the moment, of course. Not really teammates here in the series, so expect some hard battling between these gentlemen indeed. And let's go on board here with Sam Digby. He's made his way up into 5th position following the carnage we saw before. And who was it actually? It's a little bit impeding when you think you have the replays and turns out that you don't. And I think it was certainly Kurt24. He's a long way back. Aura found himself in 12th position at the moment. Certainly involved in that calamity there before. And Sam Digby now in the pits. That's early for him. And it's damage getting fixed. Same, I think, is going to happen here for Will Friedman. And it was contact between Kurt and Aura. Oh, that's poor luck for those two. Here, Friedman rejoining in 12th position. Right in front of JC. Joe of the Fire just pulling away at the moment. Clear by 4 seconds now of GT Wells. So really seems to have a very strong race pace here tonight. And here is second placed GT Welsh at the moment. He's making his way down through the second chicanes. Let's jump on board. Clips plenty of curb on the inside. And then a late apex on the final corner. Try to get as early on the power as possible. And he pits in as well. So Welch pits in, and that's early, and it's much earlier than I've anticipated in any way. I think he might have picked up some kind of damage as well. Let's listen to it. Here he gets a tire change. That's very early as well. So it might just be... oh, there's a little bit of fixing going on there as well. And the mediums now for Welsh. He rejoins in 9th position now. So this is already really turning out to be a race of attrition. TSR Jimmy in the lovely car guy Honda. Quite sure it's a Honda. It is a Honda. Oh, good. It'd be embarrassing if I were wrong. Anyway, he's done quite well. He's in 2nd. He's survived so far. And another one who survived, well, no surprise, it is the Swedish survivor T5 Black. He's in 3rd at the moment with Dr. Hash, I have to say, having done a very good job also of just navigating through the chaos alongside Pinkery. Mind you, those two started on bottom row. They're now running 4th and 5th. CJ, who also got damage early on, he's back up into 6th position now, pressuring Pinkery for it, for all it's worth. Really applying the pressure, actually. He's on the outside, down towards turn 1. Let's see what he's going to be able to... just swoops it in front. Brilliant stuff from CJ. VLX Maverick, it is TX3 Dr. Hash by now. That's exactly what I wasn't really sure if I would be allowed to confirm or not. Dr. Hash signing for TX3. That's big news indeed. Here is Martin putting on the pressure to the rear end of Sam Digby. Martin on a purple lap through the 2nd sector here. He's trying to find his way through, but it is just so proving that it is difficult to overtake here. Although he really gets the run up in towards the 2nd hairpin. Or that's, of course, the 1st hairpin of 2. It's the left-hand hairpin here. Martin up the inside. Is he going to make it stick this time around? I'd expect Digby to be able to get the run on him, but Martin does pull out in front. And into this one, it's impossible to overtake. Might Digby have a comeback here for the 2nd hairpin? I don't think he will. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. Martin up into 7th. We have Welsh down in 9th position and Storm Pacer 10th. It's Aura in 11th position in the CRN car at the moment. And he was doing so well. Who's been severely struck in this race of attrition that we've had over the first 7 laps here. Will Friedman pitting in yet again. So he must have picked up damage for the 2nd time in the race. And that's really turning out to be a tough one for the Frenchman indeed. That's tires, fuel. That's just a that's a normal pit stop to get on the soft compound for him. Look at this now. Joe of the Fire with a massive 15-second advantage down to Jimmy in second position. Jimmy's still just over a second in front of T5. CJ now having moved up. He's gotten past on Dr. Hash as well. He's now up into fourth position. I think there is a little bit of a train forming up behind Martin, though. It seems, although he did just get past Sam Digby, it's more a case, of course, of Welsh now catching up to Digby as well from behind, I think. Sam Digby in the Jag. So we see Welsh is catching him here in the faster bits, and let's see if Sam Digby has a little bit extra pace through the corners, and then once they get on the straights, Digby starts to close a little bit. Comes here Digby, although makes a little mistake here through the first chicane. And that's allowed Welsh within slipstream distance. Thing is that it's also allowed Welsh within dirty air distance, and that might make it difficult to close the remainder of the gap. Checking back in here with Joe of the Fire. 17.4 seconds now. He's really extending that gap. And he must be knowing by now that it's all about just keeping it steady, keeping it composed, and keeping his concentration for all it's worth, for all it matters, because this race at the moment really is his to throw away. Look at this here, is T5 really starting to gain on Jimmy as well. He's pulled in around 7/10, and that's on the last lap alone. So as we say that, he really pulls away from the second chicane. But look at this now, CJ appearing in the mirrors of these two guys. Oh, as Jimmy goes a little bit wide. Man, that's on the exit from the left-hand hairpin, and it's gonna allow T5 to get close. But CJ really just eating his way in on the two drivers in front of him. And it seems CJ really also has the pace. But he's also way down into his overtaking system reserves here with the red light already on, and that means that he's at 25% or less of his overtaking boost. The extra 25 or so horsepower that can be activated with the overtaking system. Now T5 flag is getting very close. We'll be following it from CJ's onboard perspective here, as CJ in turn is getting even closer now to T5, really within striking distance. Might he just make it stick here into the hairpin? T5 isn't leaving him a lot of space, but it's enough, and he's squeezed his way in. CJ, is he past? Oh, CJ, oh yes, that's It sounded like CJ accidentally hit his handbrake in the situation there. If so, well saved. That sudden dip in revs. So a really good battle now for a second. That is CJ really beginning to lag. There's a bit of warping going on there. T5 will now be looking for his opportunity to get past, but I think it's CJ who's going to be dipping in for it here. And the second of the two sweepers, and T5 is going to follow him right through, and Jimmy got it way wrong there on corner exit. Let's see that. I hope he didn't pick up any sort of damage. He certainly didn't. He's down into fourth position now. CJ up into second. T5 taking third. Dr. Hash, meanwhile, he's still running fifth position. pretty strong showing for the fresh TX3 signee indeed. Martin has moved his way up into 6th, so it is by no means over for Martin. Still in the hunt for a good place, a good spot here tonight. Could still be in with a shot for podium places. Was that Dr. Hash getting in a little wide? And that really allows Martin to get up and close quickly indeed here. And that's Martin up into 5th. And that's in sweeper number 2. Really see the downforce working wonders here. But those 2 sweepers really eating into the tires. And it also makes for some very uneven tire wear. Oh, as Dr. Hash brings it into the wall. Oh, that's poor luck for Dr. Hash. He will be suffering some kind of damage. I'm quite sure that'll be a front aero and some kind of suspension on the front as well. And Martin still on those early softs here. Now it's Welch catching up to Dr. Hash. He seems to be having an easy way finding his way around there. Though Dr. Hash is going sort of defensive. Welch aims for the run. Dr. Hash is going to be pinning in, I'm quite sure. No, he keeps it on track. So opts to stick with his strategy here. As we start what is effectively for these drivers at the moment the 13th lap, of course, taking into consideration that we had those 2 warm-up laps at the beginning of the race. Sam Digby in 8th at the moment, still running those mediums. He'll still find himself with the advantage of a set of softs at his disposal later in the race. Digby gets it loose, going over the curbs into chicane 1. That is a classic one to happen, also because you need to go over the curbs and very much actually to straight line the chicane as much as possible. But if you don't get the line completely right, well, it's very difficult to correct because the car in turn is going to be flying for a bit of the way now. Sam Digby's caught up to Dr. Hash. It's bleeding time, the German. He was in 5th, he's down into 7th now. It's going to be 8th in not too long, I'm afraid, because Sam Digby is really having him within striking distance, and I think Dr. Hash is not going to stand too long. You really see him suffering on top speed, suffering on, I think, downforce through those faster corners as well. And I think he'd do wisely to pit in at this moment to not bleed any additional time from that damage. Pinkery running 9th still. And mind you that, again, as I mentioned earlier, it was Dr. Hash and Pinkery at bottom row on the start grid. So, so good stuff from both of them to be running where they are. And Pinkery certainly with close to the spots in front as well. Storm Pacer also only a couple of seconds down. Oh, and who was that? Bending it yet again. It was exactly Dr. Hash who's lost it yet again. Oh, that's certainly gonna be big trouble for the doctor. And did Aura have contact with him yet? I really hope not. Let's see if there was a tap between those two as well. There actually might very well be. There most certainly was. Oh, that is such bad luck. That little tap on corner exit costs Aura an additional pit stop as well. See here, we're joining with Joe of the Fire. It's been a long time since we've checked in with our race leader. He has just extended that advantage. It's now 26.5 seconds up on CJ. Here's the Mad Greek running second at the moment. CJ in turn, not with the greatest of advantages down to T5. just over 2 seconds at the moment, so it's still very open for second place. And then in fourth, it's still TSR Jimmy, but he is now falling into the clutches of the Flying Dutchman that is Martin, the man formerly known as Martin Vijfhuizen, but it's still the man from Vijfhuizen, the small town with 7 houses early on there. Such a bad luck situation for the two Germans in the field to come together and under those sorts of conditions. Dr. Hash already really suffering with the car already, and then to have that sort of incident happen here. Martin makes the move into the first sweeper, and he easily makes that stick. As Abel noted earlier on, he is still on the softs, so explains his really good pace at the moment. Oh, Jimmy there, really close to losing it through the chicane. And certainly you can say for Dr. Hash, it certainly went from bad to worse. And Martin getting a little sketchy on exit, but he's really pulling in T5 back at an aggressive pace. I think his hearts, or his softs, there's a world of difference. There is Welsh getting past Jimmy as well. So Jimmy all of a sudden really suffering with the grip in his car, and GT Welsh up into 5th position. Although it's been all but great for GT Welsh at the so far, after setting pole position, then getting such a terrible start, just getting swamped in wheel spin, and going from 1st to 4th before turn 1. And mind you, you're at this track, there isn't really a long way from the get-go to turn 1, but he managed to cock up the start, and now he almost managed to bin it through the chicane as well. I think we're gonna see Jimmy gain a little bit of ground back on him here, and we certainly are seeing just that. It's Martin right in front of those two. And 4th at the moment. They're all chasing the witty professor in the end. I think it's gonna be a futile chase if Joe of the Fire can just keep his wits about him. And he has done exactly that so far for this race. Check in with Pinkery. He's running 8th at the moment. He's brought Storm Pacer with him, and they're fighting for 8th position right now. It's Volex Esports against Clockwork Motorsports. And let's jump on board with the Storm Pacer here. We have JC pitting in on the soft tire. Let's see where he comes out and what he comes out upon. As Storm Pacer does get a good run. This is really one of the overtaking spots we've seen. Getting the slipstream up through the S's, and then getting the run into this first flat-out sweeper, indeed, where it's just about getting the racing line, of course, through the first chicane here. Storm Pacer now up into 8th position, and let's see if he'll be able to properly break away from Pinkery. Here we're on board with Pinkery in the Toyota. You can hear there's also a little bit of Polyphony actually changed the engine note on the Toyota, so they're a little bit different now, and that's something that I personally really appreciate them doing. That little attention to detail that just gives it that little extra. Of course, I know this is a Simcade game in the end, so when talking attention to detail, we'll find proper sims with a level of attention to detail that's completely different, but in turn they're also often really difficult to get hard. GT Sport, the wonderful thing about it is of course that it's more accessible, and for communities like this. Oh, Welsh has died in the Sector 4 chicane, and that's interesting news. That's in the final chicane, of course. He's still on track. He's recovered. I think he, of course, took a pit stop for it. Joe of the fire in the pits. So he's spent what there was worth in the softs. He's now going to rejoin on those medium tires. And I wonder if it's going to be a two-stop strategy for Joe of the fire here with about half a tank of fuel in the car. CJ also pitting in from his softs. Yeah, I'm also thinking it looks like a two-stopper for Joe. Anyways, two-stop pit window very much opening up here. We have Jimmy in. He's exiting on the mediums. Storm Pacers, he's had a run on the softs already. He's just a quick tire change and then out on the mediums as well. Staying in 9th position. Good evening, Darren, and the Burrito King. I was about to call you a Burrito, Dorito, Bandito. A dear child has many names, as we say in Denmark. Robert Smith, it is his more official name, I guess. And of course, to anyone else watching who's tuned in here post-race start, a warm welcome to you as well. It's a pleasure having you along for the TSR Super Formula Series. We're at the 4th round of a 6-race season, so a short one, this one in reality. Here is TSR Martin pitting in. He's gonna jump off the softs, and it's gonna be looking like what could have been a two-stopper, but with that early damage fix pit stop, it's gonna be more for Martin. He's gonna be rejoining in 7th position. Oh, Darren, it's not the first time we've seen drivers struggling on the cold tires. Although with the advantage now, 18 seconds down to T5. T5's gotten the better of CJ, but did CJ pit? That's a good question. I think he did. Let's see, CJ pitted there on lap... Was that lap 21 with the 21.6? He is on fresh mediums. He did pit there. It's just a very short one indeed. He's down on T5 though. I'm wondering, T5 still running those mediums he started the race upon. And he's still got the soft, so T5 Black actually in an excellent position here. And that's a good observation. I had noticed it earlier as well. It was already on lap, what, 5 or 6 or so that he was down to 25% or less, and he is really struggling with that now. He's getting caught, I think, by Sam Digby. Seems like he's falling into the clutches of Digby. Digby, who's really coming back strongly now. He's in 4th position at the moment. And I'm really interested to see how this will come together all at the end, because in the end this will be a very tactical race. Of course you can overtake, but most of all a race of survival. Welsh in 5th position now. So given that he just had a nasty moment in the final chicane. Oh, he had another nasty moment in the first chicane here. Manages to save it. He's running 5th, but that is of course with a skewed pit strategy for Welsh. And then it's Martin there in 6th, having just pitted also. He's got Jimmy right on his tail at the moment. There's a Jag in the mix. Well, that's just the team. It is, of course, I haven't actually checked what Digby said. So that's T5 is in. T5 in for his first pit stop. And I'm interested to see if it'll be the softs already now, or he's keeping him for later. And is it potentially going to be a one-stop even? It's certainly not going to be that, because he opted for another set of mediums. And he's saving those softs for late race, for a late race charge T5 Black. We'll have to keep an eye out for where he is as to when that starts, because could see him gaining some serious time late race. But that does leave T5 in the very weird Honda Jag in third position. Welsh, and that means Welsh up into fourth, of course. Jimmy fifth, Martin sixth, and then T5 then rejoining seventh. Storm Pacer, he's 5 seconds down on the Swedish survivor in that battle for seventh position. He's got a good gap now down to Pinkery in ninth position. Dr. Hash is running 10th, even with his major issues earlier on. Here is Sam Digby pitting in for the first time, I would actually imagine, here on lap 23. That's pretty good stuff. A fresh set of mediums, some fuel, and he's had no damage to repair yet. Digby has kept it clean. He rejoins in 7th position. He's gonna keep Storm Pacer behind him by the looks of it, although he does have a run up on him. And I do think that with the cold tires, it could be that we're seeing Sam Digby as a sitting duck here. My defense pretty well on the inside line. Doesn't give Storm Pacer the space to move up on the inside. I might get the charge on him down towards the second chicane, or the first chicane, of course. Or the second sector in turn, but no. So well defended there from Digby in the battle for 7th position. Welsh, he's trying to catch up to CJ Welsh now in 3rd, with those guys having pitted, but interesting that it could be let's see with Digby. He also started on the mediums, and he's running another set of mediums, so it is the same for Digby as we're seeing from T5 Black. They're on very similar strategies. They're running only separated by 2 seconds at the moment, so very close indeed between the two. We've seen Storm Pacer on the softs, but Storm Pacer might have had some kind of bad luck at the moment. Of course, in the lead, it is still Joe of the Fire. He's been leading since the get-go. Pretty much, he started 3rd on the grid, but he managed to snatch. He managed to snatch that leading position out of a little bit of a chaotic start, actually. And while we can't really see anything else from the start of the race. No, actually we can't even, because what we'll be seeing is the start before the 2 formation laps, and that's going to be absolutely useless. And of course, the reason we don't have the replay available here is that I'd imagine, at least, is that yeah, it's the same. I think I failed to clear up enough space for the game to save some kind of provisional replay. Then it then accesses when I need it, and I'm of course sorry that we don't have the replays to have 2nd or even 3rd and 4th looks at the action. And I promise that something will have fixed for our next scheduled event. Martin in 4th now, he's still putting on the pressure. He's still trying to catch up to Welsh, but it is a little bit in leading position here. It is looking very good for the Witty Professor. That is, as I've mentioned before, look at this. Storm Pacer. Storm Pacer has gotten past Digby, and he's caught up to T5 in the process as well. So Storm Pacer with some really good pace here at the moment. He's absolutely flying along. Let's see his last lap time, a 1:14.5. So that is certainly good for a race pace. Let's see what he is on at the moment. And on the, though pretty fresh, but on the medium tires, it is respectable, to say the very least. And he is he's just hovering around slipstream distance from T5 Black. I think he just gets inside of it actually for the straight here, and that in turn means he'll have the possibility perhaps to get close enough up here through the S's. Just see the dirty air though also might be hampering him already through the first sweeper. Let's go on board with T5 Black running 6th position at the moment with the big ass wang cam through the first sweeper down through down the hill and into the first chicane. Oh, big slide there from Storm Pacer, but he keeps it under control. Then up into the hairpin here, aiming for the late apex, aiming to get early on the power. But it's a patient game because it is really 180 degrees around, and that means that you have to be patient. And the same goes for the final corner here. Too early on the power, and what happens is that exactly what happens to Storm Pacer here. That little bit of a slide, and that in turn compromises the run all the way down to turn one. Turn one not being completely flat out here. Storm Pacer though with a big speed advantage on T5 Black in front, at least that time around. Gained absolutely massively through turn one here. Storm Pacer taking a step closer. He's really knocking on... Oh, as he gets a huge slide on... Sam Digby chooses to pull off a carbon copy of... what was that? Solidarity mistake in... since it was 1st of May. Now what's happening to T5 or to TSR Martin? He's dropping back. He must have made some kind of mistake because that came from absolutely nowhere. And now he's all of a sudden finding himself in between T5 and Storm Pacer. Yet again, the lack of replay is hurting me on the inside. To my very soul, it annoys me. But yeah, wish we could have a look at what happened to Martin there. But now it's a very close 4-scrap car. 5th through 8th position, and Digby goes a little wide on sweeper entrance. Manages to keep it all under control. Oh, Martin seems to be all over the place at the moment. He goes waywards through the first chicane, and he loses out on 6th position as well. He's now down into 7th. And what was looking like a charge up through the field is now looking like a mix of could be frustration, most of all. And Bandito, sadly no wake, no sugar rush on the grid tonight. He wasn't able to participate here. You see Martin with no overtaking left, I think. Yes, I think some left. It's just a flashy moment there as Storm Pacer goes wide. That might just let Martin in through on the inside. He's having a good run, but it's nowhere to go side by side here, as this is all just playing into the hands of Sam Digby. It's almost 3 wide into the sweeper here. Martin moving up into 6th. Digby taking 7th, I think, even though Storm Pacer's in the slipstream. Even though Digby gets the huge run on Martin here into the chicane. And what's going to happen in front? We're going to have to go on board with Storm Pacer here to keep track of the action in front. An evening to Martin here. Nice to have you along. We are 31 laps into what is effectively a 57 lap race here from Kyoto, Yamagiwa. And it's Joe of the Fire leading CJ and TSR GT Welsh at the moment. Joe of the Fire being one of the only drivers who've had a completely problem-free race. I think Digby, the same goes for him, and T5 Black as well. Look at that, the battle between Storm Pacer and Martin here for 7th position at the moment is really live now. Martin just shutting the door here into the sweeper. He'll have absolutely none of it. See Storm Pacer on the less grippy part of the track there with no chance of going around the outside. Oh, he gets late on the brakes there and he completely misses. I think he completely overshoots it there and he manages to save it, Storm Pacer, as opposed to just going straight head on, but loses on a big amount of time. Anyway, here is Sam Digby still in 6th and he's getting closer and closer. It was 2 seconds between himself and T5 Black at some point. Well, now it's just 7/10 of a second. So this 5th through 8th battle is still alive. TSR Jimmy in 4th position. He's done a very good job so far as well of just keeping it clean, keeping it consistent in the car guy Honda. And as Welsh, as mentioned with Welsh, it was looking like he was going to be in for a really good day today, but sadly didn't really turn out to be that way. Here is our race leader. It is Joe of the Fire, the witty professor. It is. Why isn't it showing me the fastest lap of the race? I think there's something with this. Something's up with this anyways. And certainly we've seen a big improvement in form from TSR Jimmy as of late. He's really found his game and he's doing super well, and it's such a nice thing to see him at the pointy end of affairs. Digby crashed, and that might very well be because he's 5 seconds down on Storm Pacer and he's in 8th position, and he's now running with front suspension and aero damage, and that is going to require a pit stop. Poor luck for Sam Digby, who was one of those drivers, was one of those cars still doing well, who was still in with a shout of an absolute top placing here. In the end, I think that's going to spoil it for him. Let's see where he's going to be rejoining on the softs in 10th position. It's going to be 8 seconds down on Kurt 24 in 9th. So that leaves Pinkery 8th, Storm Pacer 7th, Martin up in 6th position still, then trying to keep it up with the T5 Black at the moment. Fastest lap of the race, Joe of the Fire with a 1:13.1, and that is certainly impressive. 0.2 of a second faster than what we've seen in qualifying, but of course he has been running on the soft tire and has been running on lower fuel for his first stint than he would have done in qualifying. So it is in turn understandable that even without really pushing it to the limit, he would be able to just go a little bit faster. Digby with yet another crash, and now all the way down in 10th. Oh, and he's pitting in on his outlap. He's pitting in on his outlap. Sam Digby, well, they come in twos. Isn't that what they say about accidents? It's certainly proven to be right for Sam Digby as he exits the pit in 11th position. Such poor luck. And certainly not what we wanted to see for Sam Digby. It's Welsh pitting in here. Oh yeah, it's in threes. Well, I make up I make up stuff along the way. Sometimes I have to. Here's Jimmy in as well. He's gotten in from 4th position. He's going to be rejoining 7th, but I think that was an early final pit stop for him. You'd expect him to get the better of the cars in front of him when they in turn pit in. So there is CJ, very much on an island as well. 24 seconds down on Joe of the Fire, up 20 seconds as well, and ahead of Welsh there in 3rd position now. Although with Welsh on an outlap, it actually might be closer. Oh, Welsh almost getting caught out by the cold tires. And, well, pretty much everyone has used all the overtake already at this point. And I think with this attritional state of racing we've had, it's been we've had some desperate moments, and we're seeing drivers coming back from what has been looking like impossible situations. But just goes to show that you should never stop fighting here. Martin pitting in from 6th position for his final stop. And CJ no overtake, but T5 it seemed had no overtake left as well. Or Welsh, of course. And Jimmy. Is that Jimmy? Kurt 24 pitting in as well. Just wanted to see Jimmy. He's leaving the pits now. Just had a feeling that he just pitted, but obviously he didn't. He's out in 8th position. But he just pit. Oh God. So Jimmy with a little bit of issues now. He's out in 8th position, finding himself some way off the pace. There's 20 laps of racing remaining for the leaders. Welsh, he's getting right into it. He's already clawed back a second on CJ in front, so he is running faster now, and it might be an undercut attempt on the Matt Greek here. Although the pit is very short here at Kyoto, so pit times are indeed also quite short. There's T5 still in 4th position. We have Pinkery pitting in as well, and Joe of the Fire pitting in. So that's about at the same time with those two. Let's see, here is Pinkery's pit stop. A quick tire change, a bit of fuel, and he'll be out and off. And I think here is Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, Jimmy has had problems for a couple of laps this time around, and yet another pit stop for him. I don't know what's the issue there, but it's certainly not good. CJ pitting in as well, and that's going to be his final stop. Let's see where he's going to be coming out. It's going to be interesting to see compared to Welsh. Let's see where Welsh is. Oh, this is going to be very close indeed. Let's go on board with GT Welsh. We have CJ on the inside, and Welsh takes 2nd position. And remind you, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a straight up race all the way to the line between these two. So less than a second between Welsh and CJ as they exit the pits. And then it's T5 and Storm Pacer actually not too far down as well. Martin, he's all alone there in 6th position, and then down in 7th, it's a big line of cars now with Digby, Pinkery, Dr. Hash, I think, is right there as well in 9th position now. And he had a lot of trouble earlier in the race, but he's just been digging at it and finds himself in 9th in the points. In 10th, it's Kurt24. Jimmy then in 11th position now. He was 4th. Obviously, it was we went a compliment too far of Jimmy, and he's poor luck. In 12th at the moment, it's Will Friedman. In 13th position, it is JC and Aura. Well, he's parked the car and called it a day early. And Joe of the Fire is still just running smoothly at the moment. And we're not gonna try to jinx anything for the witty professor, but it does look very nice for him indeed. Just nursing that 20-second advantage down to GT Welsh. And with less than 20 laps to go, he can really afford to slack all the pace. But the thing is, often you don't really want to do that. Just want to keep on chipping away at with the rhythm that you've got now. Sam Digby, we got the fastest lap all of a sudden appearing here. Sam Digby having put in a 1:12.6, and that is certainly impressive. So back with Welsh, he's put 2.2 seconds into CJ. So Welsh on a really good late race pace. Sometimes it doesn't really occur to me that stuff rhymes until it comes out of my mouth and it sounds 10% cool and 90% stupid. Anyway, it's Welsh, CJ, and then 9 seconds down to T5, who's got the company of Storm Pacer still within reach. It's half a second only between the two. Then Martin, well, there's a little bit of way back to him. Sam Digby in 7th. I think he is just running away from the competition at the moment with those very fast laps of his. Good stuff from Welsh to claim 2nd place now. Storm Pacer getting very close on the entrance of the first chicane, but a little too close in turn. So good race for Storm Pacer so far, finding himself at this time in 5th position. Question is, has he had his final pit stop? Well, of that I'm not entirely certain, and I'm actually quite sure he hasn't. Well, that actually depends. Oh no, he hasn't. I don't think he'll be able to stretch that fuel for there's just 15 laps left, more or less. There it is, T5, Storm Pacer, both dipping in simultaneously into the pits. This is going to be a thriller. Whose pit crew is going to be coming out on top here, fueling for both as Martin comes through up into 4th. It's going to be T5 exiting on the softs now. And Storm Pacer, well, he's used his softs already. So that's a big advantage for T5 Black, who's of course lucky then to also exit the pits in front. It would really be costly for him. So T5, he's going to be chasing down Martin now, and I suppose he's going to be doing so quickly indeed. As you can just see the time drop off. Martin getting a little squirmy on exit there. It's very close now between C5 and Storm Pacer. Storm Pacer somehow managing to claw in and hang on. Oh my. This is well. Don't touch the pad. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Something with this. That crazy pad is the. Oh, Digby. Almost getting it wrong there. He's difficult exit. We've seen CJ before getting it very wrong. Well, that was in the TSR GT300 series. Look at this Storm Pacer. Is he running on the soft as well? No, he's on the mediums, but he's putting in purple left sector times through the first sector. And he's really pressuring T5 Black at the moment. And that's impressive on the mediums. I have to wonder if is he just squeezing the overtake button at the moment? Just about space for him on the inside. The T5 defends bravely, and he manages to stay ahead. It's worth noticing that T5 is on the softs, so he really should have the pace advantage. Notably less camber on Storm Pace's car as well, at least at the front. When someone's off. And that's Dr. Hash. Oh, Dr. Hash. Right before the final corner. He spinned it. Oh, and that's poor luck for him. Finding himself now in 11th. A big question, did he pick up any damage? Luckily for him, he did not. Pitting in anyways for his final pit stop, I think. So Joe of the Fire, he's lost 2.5 seconds now, a little bit more actually, down to GT Welsh. But Welsh so far down that wouldn't be a real problem for Joe. He can control this gap all the way to the line. And it's been a brilliant race so far from the witty professor. Staying clear of the trouble so far, at least. And it has indeed been a race that's been very much a war of attrition so far. A little bit of barkiness from good old Stella. But anyways, if you enjoy what we do, don't forget to leave a like on the video, and if you really like what we do here on the channel, and you haven't already, then consider subscribing to us as well to stay in touch with what we do. Stella, the Half the Race dog, is live and well. Should anyone be in doubt. So Welsh, well, he quickly pulled out those 2.2 seconds on CJ. It hasn't grown any further though. It's been status quo pretty much all the way through since that last pit stop round, as we're getting close to the final 10 laps here from Kyoto. Yamagiwa, finding himself in 4th position at the moment, is TSR Martin, but he's also finding himself in the company of T5 Black and Storm Pacer, both on quite the better pace than Martin at the moment. And if T5 goes past here, it's going to be Martin in the middle, but not for now. And it might be Storm Pacer indeed, and in turn that gets the run here. T5 forced to go defensive into the hairpin. Oh, Storm Pacer, that's a dangerous place to go so wide. And he also in turn loses out a little bit of time, but look at the speed there through that final chicane. Gains it all right back through a single corner. Do or die racing from Storm Pacer here in 6th position. It's impressive stuff. Now hopping up to the wang cam of TSR Martin's car, and looking back over his shoulder, he's going to be seeing the herd in the eyes of T5 Black for not being able to utilize the speed on the soft. And as I say that, T5 does get the superior run, and he does get past and up into 4th position. And that is exactly with 10 laps of racing left. I think Martin has a big job on his hands to get back past through on a car that's running on the soft compounds. And it's gonna be far superior here from the later race periods here. Oh, Martin really pushing. So I said that he'd have trouble finding his way back through. Turns out that, well, isn't too far off the pace. Here, look at that. He's within the slipstream. He actually gets the exit on T5. So this is by no means over yet. Welsh has slightly increased his gap, and as I say that, it goes even below those 2.2 that we were hovering at before. A bit of a battle here actually forming. It's 3 cars within the space of 1 second in the battle for 4th position. Oh, whoa, Storm Pacer almost losing it completely as Martin goes in a little too hot. Storm Pacer goes into that chicane much too hot. They both in turn almost lose it on their way through, and impressively both of them also keeping the car under control in the end. Really close still. Martin doing a brilliant job of staying within touch of T5, even on what I suppose is by now pretty worn mediums. Not pretty worn, but they are indeed worn. And T5 Black is indeed on the soft compound, of course. Slipstream helping Martin here, but just beginning to wonder if it's gonna be all over here. He's managing to just... It's really not much slower. He's going around Martin on a personal best this lap as well. And that kind of shows. Here's Digby, Sam Digby, still our fastest lap holder for today. He's running 7th position at the moment. But he's pretty much on an island because he's got 7 seconds up to Storm Pacer. He's got 11 seconds down to Pinkery in 8th position. Pinkery in turn, who's not really too pressured as well by Jimmy from behind, and looking for that 8th place finish at the moment. And 10th at the moment is Kurt in the number 24 car. He in turn is getting quite close to Jimmy actually, and there might be, oh, as I was just about to say, there might be a battle brewing. Jimmy loses it on the outside, and TSR Jimmy, who for such a long time was looking like he was really gonna be in for a top spot finish here tonight. The bad luck struck him, and it's been with him ever since. He really haven't seemed to be able to regain his rhythm whatsoever. Such poor luck. That leaves Kurt 24 up into 9th position. Welsh has extended it down to CJ yet again. It's now up to 3 seconds. Then we're going to join this battle for 4th position. And in that battle, T5 Black has finally broken the deadlock. He's broken the slipstream down to Martin. It's now a little over 2 seconds, and it might be Storm Pacer coming back at Martin here with the 1.2 second gap. And that's with 7 laps of racing left. And just through turn 1 alone there. He claws in a couple of tenths. And he puts himself within slipstream range in the following straightway here downhill. The first sweeper. He's gaining. He's still gaining. And this time keeps the composure through that first chicane. Still gaining down through the first hairpin here, the left-hand hairpin. Ooh, a little bit of a squirm on exit there. And then a turn makes it a little difficult for him to keep the gaining going on for now, but he's still... Oh, that's massive gains. He's much faster than Martin at the moment. I think Martin's suffering with his tires compared to Storm Pacer here. It's now about half a second, and Storm Pacer on his personal best lap at the moment as well, so really looking good. And now this is really getting close. Martin, I think, will have to go defensive here, and he doesn't get to do so, and that means it's pretty much game over. I think nothing to do there on the outside except to try for a cutback up towards the chicane. Storm Pacer taking 5th position. Martin, though, with a chance for a dive. Up to think twice, think better. Storm Pacer keeps the run, keeps the speed, and in turn puts Martin right out of the slipstream here. And Welch pitting in. Welch pitting in late. Oh, that's very late for GT Welch. I have to wonder, is it only for the tires here? There's, what, 6 laps left? Welch, he's gonna be blowing it completely, just handing 2nd place to CJ. I'd expect Welch to have damage for that one, because wouldn't think he'd be able to survive the last 5 laps on warm rubber with a 3-second gap down to CJ. I think he most certainly would. And a late pit stop to put him down into 3rd position, though not losing enough time to be put into the clutches of the Swedish survivor T5 flag. He's going to be finishing 4th by the looks of it. And Storm Pacer, a solid 5th place so far. Although Martin's still within striking range, it could be that the Dutchman... And just as I say that, Storm Pacer makes a mistake. He's been having some difficulties with that first chicane throughout the race. Yet again, gets it a little bit wrong. And this lets Martin back up through, although it seems they're side by side through the hairpin here. I'd expect Martin to get the run on the inside there, and he certainly does. As Storm Pacer goes a little wide and has to hold off on the throttle. And it's all that overtaking to be done yet again so late in the race. There's no given that he'll be having the chance to do so yet again. So Martin back up into 5th position. Let's see, we have Pinkery now in 7th. Digby down in 8th, so I think there's been a swap of places between those two, if I'm not completely mistaken. And Apple noting that Joe wants to lap Digby for this one. And, well, given that the two had some very close battling in the TSR GT300, I'm sure Joe of the Fire would enjoy. Although slightly sadistically, he has lapped Digby already. You can see Digby here entering the pits on the softs. And Joe of the Fire still, it's 22 seconds, so it's actually back up. But that was, of course, Welch having gained some time on him earlier on. Joe of the Fire, he has been very strong today. He has been more or less untouchable. And effectively, we're on lap 55 of 57, minus the 2 first laps of fueling and forming up. Here is CJ, who's barring any late freak accidents, is going to be finishing 2nd with 2.5 laps left. And Welch, who just had that pit stop, throwing away 2nd place. I think he must be gutted there, although podium place is never bad. And then in behind still Martin now. Oh, Martin with a huge advantage. And Stormpacer's picked up some damage, and he's picked up engine damage here. 2.5 laps from the finish of the race. Stormpacer F's out, ladies and gentlemen. Can I please see some F's in chat for Stormpacer? Who's really ruining? That's gonna cost him big time. Even with half a minute of advantage down to Pinkery, I'm quite sure he's gonna lose that half a minute advantage, and even more given that he's gonna be pitting in as well. Well, it's hard to know where he's gonna be ending up, but he's been driving a good race up until that Stormpacer. And just goes to show how much of a war of attrition this race has actually been. We haven't had any of these races so far in this series. It's been plenty of battling, plenty of racing action, but not that much carnage actually, and it's been a pleasure to see. This one has been a little bit more to the destructive side, which is of course always unpredictable, but also filled with frustration and sadness in the end here. Stormpacer pits in to get that damage fixed, and it's just gonna be only that damage, nothing else, I think. Certainly is, and that also means he's gonna be keeping hold of 7th position. I think Pinkery just getting through, and he's out in front of Jimmy. 2.3 seconds ahead. So Joe of the Fire, he is on his final lap. He's made his way through the first sweeper, and that means he's down towards the first chicane. He makes his way through safely indeed, up the hill, and then down towards the hairpin. As you can see him deploying the rest of his overtake on the final lap. Will he be going for that fastest lap? Well, it's not going to be possible for him. He's 4/10 down already. Final chicane for Joe of the Fire. Just one corner left. It's been a brilliant performance yet again from the championship leader. Not always the fastest driver on track. In fact, often we see that someone else has a better single lap pace, or even a better pace over a single race. Although rarely someone is able to string together those performances like Joe of the Fire is, and he's taken yet another dominant win here at Kyoto Yamagiwa. And as CJ gets a big slide on through the final corner. Was that even intentional? He'd say it was, I'm not so sure, but CJ manages to bring it home in second. Welch gets 3rd position. It's gonna be T5 Black for 4th position in the end. Not a bad result for the Swedish survivor. As he comes home there, and it's Martin. Martin! I think lucky that none of the cars behind are actually running, because he's almost binned it here. He's finished 5th. Then Pinkery finishing in 6th position. Stormpacer with that late accident, 7th. Be 9th. Kurt in 10th position. Dr. Hash 11th. Then Will Friedman in 12th. And that was all I got to see, I think. But congratulations to Joe of the Fire for yet another good, strong victory here in the TSR Super Formula. Let's just have another look at the standings. There it was Dr. Hash 11th, Friedman in 12th, JC 13th, and then Aura from the pits, of course. So just asking our top 3 if they're up for the press conference that we premiered on Sunday. It was wasn't anything planned, but it was a really good idea from actually from Bandit, and I have to say that kudos for bringing that great idea to the table, because it really was fun doing it last week. And let's see if the drivers are up for it. Sure. Okay, well, here goes a little bit of blue bouncing heads as I get a party up running and invite the drama in question, the drivers in question. So just a second, still just inviting. It's gonna be Joe of the Fire. It's gonna be, where is he? Welsh, CJ hiding, showing us offline. Welsh is actually showing us. Isn't he? Oh, there he is. So we're back. We're back with pictures. Oh, that's a loud engine noise there. No need to have that. Just waiting for everyone to in. Oh, and we have all three drivers here. That means the press conference is up and running. First of all, congratulations all three on podium finishes. What a race of attrition it turned out to be. Joe, first of all, had you been on pole, you could have made a legendary Mika Häkkinen-esque commentary, but starting third, it's not going to be that way. But what a brilliant race. Talk us through how that felt for you.
Well, that was pretty good. The main thing was getting the start right. I had a good start, got on the outside with CJ through the first part and managed to hold it up through the S's. Then it seemed like everyone had some trouble on cold tyres in the chicane.
Yeah, that really... I mean, I lost count on how many cars went wrong and got off on the first couple of laps there, and couldn't do the replays, so it was kind of hard actually keeping track of what was going on. But you seem to just break away from it brilliantly at the front.
Yeah, just try to keep up a steady pace and not make any mistakes, really.
So basically, just doing a real professor, like we've come to know you by now.
I guess so, yeah.
So moving on, CJ, a gift for you, second place in the end. It was looking like it was going to be third, but a chaotic race for you as well. What happened for you there early? Talk us through whatever incident you had there.
You can't really call it a gift, as I know I had a pace. I could win today, but Joe wanted to get side by side on the first few corners. He had the overtake on. I know the S's is not a part that you can go side by side, but I'm not gonna bother talking about it. I just don't wanna, concentrate on that part only. I got damage after we had contact on, I believe the third turn, had to pit, and then I tried to waste as much overtake as I had to catch up to the rest of the pack, overtake them. I just didn't have the consistency on the low speed corners. The car was really loose, and that's pretty much everything I could do. The race was already over to the first lap anyway, so it didn't really matter for me.
No, but then coming back to second position in the end isn't a bad result at all, considering that you had those kind of issues.
Well, when you know you could have won the race, it seems like a bad result. I'm not satisfied at all with what happened.
No, but knowing you, CJ, I would be surprised if you were satisfied with second place ever. But
I mean,
yeah.
The comeback was kind of good, but I know I could win. That's the third time I've said this all day. So yeah, it's completely physiological not to be satisfied.
Disappointing for you in the end then to be second on the podium. Moving on to Welsh. Pole position for you today. That was really good, but not the best of starts, to put it mildly.
I know. Qualifying went really well. I was quite confident that I was possibly the fastest on track, so quali was as expected, really. And then, yeah, too much wheel spin on cold tyres, and everyone swarmed past me, and then I was holding on, and then I got hit from behind from someone at the first hairpin, and I foolishly stayed out for 2 or 3 laps, wasting overtake, trying to stay in touch, and wasted too much time. Came in, and I changed onto mediums. I'm not quite sure why, really. So that was my my softs. I think they lasted about 3 or 4 laps, and I ran the rest of the race on mediums. So and then I had 2 more crashes as well. It's just without the crashes, I should have won. I think, really.
Yeah, you could certainly.
But Joe is.
You certainly had the pace to be up there today.
Yeah, Joe is so consistent. It's hard to match, but for pace at least, I think it was there to be won. Certainly.
But talk us through what happened there with 3 laps remaining, because you had some kind of problem. I didn't see it at all, but you lost a lot of time, and all of a sudden you were there in the pits late.
Yeah, I think I came off at the first chicane, which I was pushing hard. I was quietly hoping Joe would crash. I was catching him quite a lot. I think I was 21 seconds behind with like 20 laps to go, and I was like 16 seconds behind with like 5, 6, 7 laps to go, and I was like, right, 1 crash, and I've won. So I was pushing, and I just overdid the chicane, lost the rear, and ended up in the wall, had suspension damage, and it just wouldn't turn left, so I had to pit.
Yeah, obviously. But poor luck in the end, and that's of course what I mean with gifted CJ second, because in the end you would have been second barring that incident. But that's the ways of racing sometimes. But anyways, it was you 3 gentlemen on the podium, so something you must have done right, of course, especially Joe, getting everything right today. Thank you for joining in on the press conference. It's been a pleasure having you along, gentlemen, so yeah, thanks.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're just gonna leave the party people to it. And with that, I think we're gonna leave you, ladies and gentlemen, as well for tonight. It has been a great pleasure bringing you this 4th round of the TSR Super Formula Season 1 here from Kyoto, Yamagiwa on Half the Race Gone. My name is DirtenDK, and it has been a pleasure. So with that said, don't forget to like the video if you haven't already, and if you of course find it worthy of your like, and if you even find us worthy of your subscription, then don't hold back. And with that said, until next time, do take care, do have fun, and bye bye.